Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Yadachanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Jamati Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radhe Govinda Jaya, Radhe Govinda. 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 Nitya Sachina Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 23. And the title is The Son of Drona Punished. Tvamaja Purusha Shakshad, Tvamada Purusha Shakshad, Ishvara Prakati Para, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Tamaja Purusha Shakshad, Tamaja Purusha Shakshad, Ishvara Prakate Para, Ishvara Prakate Para, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Tvamaja Purusha Shakshad, Tvamaja Purusha Shakshad, Ishvara Prakate Para, Ishvara Prakate Para, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Mayam Vyudasya Chikchakcha, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Kaivalya Stita Atmani, Tvam, Adya, you are the original.
You are the original.
Purusha,
Purusha,
the enjoying personality.
the enjoying personality.
Shakshat,
Sakshat,
directly.
directly.
Ishvara,
Ishvara,
the controller.
the controller.
Prakriti,
Prakriti,
of material nature.
of material nature.
Para,
Para,
transcendental.
transcendental.
Mayam,
Mayam,
the material energy.
the material energy.
Vyudasya,
Vyudasha,
one who has thrown aside.
one who is thrown aside.
Chikchakcha,
Chikchakcha,
by dint of internal potency.
by dint of internal potency.
Kaivalye,
Kaivalya,
in pure eternal knowledge and bliss.
in pure eternal knowledge and bliss.
Chittaha, stitaha,
Stitaha,
placed.
place.
Atmani,
Atmani,
own self.
own self.
Translation and purport is Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation. You are the original personality of Godhead, who expands himself all over the creations and is transcendental to material energy. You have cast away the effects of the material energy by dint of your spiritual potency. You are always situated in eternal bliss and transcendental knowledge. Purport. The Lord states in Bhagavad Gita that one who surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord can get release from the clutches of nescience. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya, or material existence, is just like darkness. Wherever there is the light of the sun, darkness or ignorance at once vanishes. The best means to get out of the world of ignorance is suggested here. The Lord is addressed herein as the original personality of Godhead. From him, all other personalities of Godhead expand. The all-pervasive Lord Vishnu is Lord Krishna's plenary portion or expansion. The Lord expands himself in innumerable forms of Godhead and living beings, along with his different energies. But Sri Krishna is the original primeval Lord, from whom everything emanates. The all-pervasive feature of the Lord, experienced within the manifested world, is also a partial representation of the Lord. Paramatma, therefore, is included within him. He is the absolute personality of Godhead, He has nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material manifestation, because he is far above the material creation. Darkness is a perverse representation of the sun, and therefore the existence of darkness depends on the existence of the sun. But in the sun proper, there is no trace of darkness. As the sun is full of light only, similarly the absolute personality of Godhead, beyond the material existence, is full of bliss. So I just want to read that sentence again. You listen to this one carefully. As the sun is full of light only, similarly the absolute personality of Godhead, beyond the material existence, is full of bliss. He is not only full of bliss, but also full of transcendental variegatedness. Transcendence is not at all static, but full of dynamic variegatedness. He is distinct from the material nature, which is complicated by the three modes of material nature. He is parama, or the chief. Therefore, he is absolute. He has manifold energies, and through his diverse energies, he creates, manifests, maintains, and destroys the material world. In his own abode, however, everything is eternal and absolute. The world is not conducted by the energies of powerful agents by themselves, but by the potent, all-powerful, with all energies. But by the potent, all-powerful, with all energies. Amagina timirandasya jana jana shivakaya chakshurunni tamina tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna. Again, thank you for attending class this morning. So it is another one of very wonderful purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And you see in this verse there's practically about maybe 6 or 7 instances where the sun is spoken of. So we can see that the sun is a very important aspect in our daily lives, and Prabhupada is using this analogy quite a lot. And you notice that the sun is actually not referred to in the actual verse itself, but Srila Prabhupada refers to the sun 6 or 7 times in the purport. Obviously there's darkness has been spoken about in the translation, but the sun is darkness is like the absence of the sun. Some drilling going on here. It's not in this house, okay. Some very active person next door is getting into some handiwork next door, so I'm just a little distracted by that. So the example of the sun is very good. I was thinking of my initial thoughts were on obviously there's 2 verses. There's one in the Bhagavad Gita, Nescience. I can't remember it now. Wherever there is sun, there is no darkness. Sunlight is nescience is darkness. Godhead is light. Where there is light, there is no darkness. Basically, it's at the start of every Bhagavad Gita, every Back to Godhead. Whereas also there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which explains when it's enlightened by the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, just like the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So the whole example of the sun is very powerful, basically, and very important. But I was thinking actually initially of King Prithu. King Prithu is a Shakti-based avatar. He's an empowered incarnation of Krishna. He is given this great power to rule over the citizens and to rule over the planet. That whole section is a wonderful section in the Bhagavatam, like all the sections in the Bhagavatam. But it explains where King Prithu is like he's actually almost like the sun. He gives sustenance to all the citizens. And in fact, he rules the citizens, he protects the citizens, and he engages everyone in the service of Krishna. So the point there is that all the activities are for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work causes bondage in this material world. So in order for us to get some glimpse of what this sunshine is like, we have to perform our activities as service to Krishna. Service to Krishna is the most important thing, because devotional service, because we have to be in a proper consciousness to perform devotional service. And we'll notice that throughout this purport, and actually throughout Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing, is explaining to us about who Krishna is. He's trying to put Krishna in front of us. He's trying to bring Krishna to life in front of us. That is the power of the spiritual master. And so many purports throughout Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, Prabhupada is describing, and the Bhagavatam is describing the glories of Krishna. Here's another instance where Arjuna he's caught in this situation. He's completely helpless again on the battlefield. Like it's there's this Brahmastra that's been released, and it's coming towards it's coming to destroy the whole planetary system, and the subsequent Brahmastra, which is coming to kill the next heir, which is King Richard. And so Arjuna is completely dependent on Krishna about what to do. So this is where we are in this verse, and it's very similar to where we are in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna again he realizes that Krishna's next to him, but this actually happens after Bhagavad Gita, after Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is after taking shelter of Krishna. He finally sees that Krishna is the supreme, and he realizes he's a sishya, he's a disciple. He says, now I'm confused about my duty, and I've lost all composure. I'm asking you for sure to tell me what it is that is my duty at this particular time. And then Krishna goes on to explain, the 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, 5th chapter, all the way down to the 10th chapter. And then in the 10th chapter,
Sarita said I can't hear too well. Let me see.
Okay, maybe if you turn up the volume on the...
I can hear you on my phone.
I'll shout.
No.
Maybe turn up the volume on the phone itself. In the 10th chapter, these are the seed verses.
You can move it closer to you.
Okay. Some technical issues. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvita. And it is, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, everything emanates me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service with all their hearts. So Arjuna is in the same situation, but now at this particular juncture he has taken shelter of Krishna, because Krishna has shown him who he is. And so Krishna again is explaining how it is that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole Bhagavad Gita is meant for that. Krishna is explaining who he is, so that we can take shelter of Krishna. And so Arjuna can take shelter of Krishna, so that all the armies on both sides who are hearing this, anybody who's hearing it, so we are hearing it now, can take shelter of Krishna. And it isn't a small thing. It's a very significant thing to take shelter of Krishna. It's like it's quite demanding, because of the situation what we're in, because we're in the situation of darkness. we're kind of turned away from Krishna. So we're trying to turn again to the light of Krishna. And that light is quite powerful and quite blinding. And we keep on, we're so attracted to the darkness all the time. And another thing that Prabhupada says in the purport there, he says, is that the material energy is disturbing, it's constantly coming in, the three modes of nature. It's preventing our clear vision that's going ahead, to understand that we're servants of Krishna. So Krishna is presenting himself to us here, and Krishna is presenting in the Bhagavad Gita in this particular verse, and that he's all pervading, and that's what Arjuna says to Krishna here. He says, Krishna, you're all pervading. He says, you are the original personality of Godhead who expands himself all over the creation and is transcendental to material energy. You have cast away the effects of material energy by dint of your spiritual potency. You are always situated in eternal bliss and transcendental knowledge. So he's appealing to Krishna. I mean, Krishna is so amazing that he sort of comes down during all these pastimes, and he engages himself in these affairs, the son of Drona punished. I mean, Krishna's enjoying it in Goloka Vrindavan, but yet, because of us, because we're sticking around in the darkness, he comes down and gets involved in this kind of heinous activity by the son of Drona, and is with Arjuna, is trying to help him. So it gives us an understanding of what the material world is like. It's not a pleasant place. It's it's a place where we should try to finish up our business and get out of it quickly. Who wants to be around where people like the son of Drona are firing brahmastras all over the place, because they got slighted. Well, maybe a little bit more than that, but still, because they weren't able to control their mind and control their senses, and they misconstrued what was going on. But that's actually what's happening on the planet at the moment. We have idiotic rulers. That's like I said about King Prithu. King Prithu's idea was that all the citizens should be protected. He's always thinking about the welfare of the people. The Brahmanas are always thinking about the welfare of the people. That's why they brought King Prithu into the situation, because the previous king who was there as the figurehead, King Vena, he was destroying all the peace of mind of all the citizens and destroying all the sacrifices. So this is Bhaktiram Yagatabhisham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gafamam Shantamishati. That is what the citizens should be doing. They should be performing sacrifices for Vishnu, so that the citizens can concentrate on Vishnu and that they will get out of this material world. So the material world is meant to be a place of peacefulness, whereby the citizens can actually finish up the business and go back to the spiritual world. That is what the devotees are always trying to set up for the citizens. But there is another class of individual who is a lower class of individual who just don't want to hear about Krishna. They want to enjoy the senses. They think that this material world is the all in all. They think that it was created by sex desire. They think there's no other energy besides this. This is what this other class of person are trying to do. So for us, we're trying to make sure that people are concentrating on Krishna. And that's what Srila Prabhupada has done. This is why he wrote the Bhagavatam, so that people could actually get some understanding of God, that they could have a tangible feeling of God, so that when they get that feeling, they would actually be able to give it to other people, And that is where we come into it. That's where Srila Prabhupada has written all these books. He's created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, so that we could actually be testament to God. We are like that is our goal, is to tell people, yes, God exists. You will not get any peacefulness, you will not have any happiness unless you accept that point. And as we said previously, we're working in an age of faithlessness, where even to bring up the whole thing about God is almost like a sin. It's almost irreligious, to talk about God. That's what it says. Where religion is irreligion and irreligion is a religion. That's the place where we're living. But Srila Prabhupada was so bold that despite that whole atmosphere which was being created, he was just boldly going, and telling people about God. You know, when he came to London, first of all, he was asked, "Why have you come?" And he said, "Well, I've come to teach you about what you've forgotten, and that's God." You know, and this is a so-called, you know, religious country, but it's actually, it was only religion in name only, or like all the Western countries in that sense. Their basically religion is materialism, and to enjoy matter. Oh, that's where that is basically their religion. That's what they're thinking about all the time. From the minute they get up to the minute they go to bed, how can I make money? You know, God, it spreads out, you know. That's the religion that's going on. The whole economic development, you know, sense enjoyment. There's no religious principles because they can get the sense enjoyment now without the religion. So it's just, you know, economic development and sense gratification. And forget about liberation. It doesn't really enter into it, you know. So Prabhupada wanted to create a whole society of individuals who would be testament to the existence of God. And he set up a whole system where so many individuals could actually take on that path themselves by reading his books and by performing devotional service. So the first point that he said in all of that was that we should give up thinking that we're the body, but give up trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Now that is kind of foreign to us because we've been enjoying separately from Krishna for many lifetimes, and it's our tendency, our pattern. But somehow or other, our good fortune has been created, and we have some inkling that this is not the right path. The actual right path is to perform activities for Krishna. You know, to perform devotional service, and to start to understand that Krishna is the center and not us. And there's some very powerful verses in this. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So that type of vision is required, you know, that we become seeing Krishna always, you know. So that might be, oh Jesus, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? You know, I want to go and have my own little bit here, but you know, this is the mind kicks in, and the you know, we think that somehow or other, but if we're Krishna consciousness, we lose our own identity. So we don't want, and our own enjoying spirit. So that's what's the problem. You know, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, you know, and for us to enjoy, we have to acknowledge that fact. You know, if we understand that fact that Krishna is the supreme knowledgeable, then we will know everything actually. And if we understand that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, then our enjoyment will know no end. And he's the giver of all. He's the for all sacrifices performed to please him. So all our activity, you know, people are educated in these colleges and these, you know, schools to go and get a good education so that they can enjoy themselves. You know, they can have a higher standard of living. But it is farcical. It's totally farcical because by that standard of living, of trying to get more and more and more, it's starving the planet of all its resources and it's starving millions of other people. Recently there was in Bristol, I've been to Bristol a few times, very nice place. Very nice place because it was it was created by the slave trade. You know, so much. I mean, I've been to a lot of these cities in Barcelona, Paris, London. I've been to one or two in Germany. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. You know, they're incredible buildings. Like, you know, walk along the Champs-Élysées, see the Louvre and all these places. Brilliant buildings. You walk in Barcelona. But all these places were, you know, it was all riches that were taken by conquest and by plunder. You know, they grabbed the riches so that they could have their wonderful society. You know, so I was saying that recently in Bristol, one of the slave traders, his statue was pulled down, and he was dumped into the water, into the river, because they didn't want him as a hero anymore, because that's how he made his wealth because of exploitation. But actually, if we take that further, this so-called society is based on massive exploitation. You know, cheap clothes, cheap food from third world countries, and who are starving just to get to make ends meet. So the whole society is based on this economic development to enjoy the senses, but that means that you're exploiting the earth, exploiting other persons, so that you can have your little, you know, so-called enjoyment. That's what's at stake here. But if instead we take Srila Prabhupada's instruction to understand that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, that we only take whatever is absolutely necessary for our welfare, and don't take anything more, knowing well to whom it belongs, then there is some chance of having peace and peacefulness in society. I mean, these plunderers, like Africa, my God, like it was like a plunder loca, you know. All the European countries swooped on Africa and tried to take all its riches from it, and it was fighting down there the Boer War, and you know, just so that they could have the riches of these countries. And now, of course, they destroyed all the traditions there. And what to speak of America, you know? I mean, that's another joke. You know, I mean, like 15th century Sir Christopher Columbus, you know, wonderful, upstanding citizen. Well, you know, maybe he was okay, but whoever came afterwards went in and they absolutely thrashed the place. There was a whole civilization going on there, fine, going on with in its own terms. Krishna was quite happy with the way they were going. They weren't destroying the earth, and that famous saying by I don't know which race it was of Indians that said, until you have drained the last drop of water and you've polluted the last bit of air, and I forget the other sentence, but only then will you realize that you can't eat your so-called nuts and bolts civilization. I mean, this was a curse, you could say, but this is what's happening. By this exploitation that's going on, there is complete you know, starvation. There's and it's because of this mentality. We're not putting Krishna in the center. So we see in a way in which we Arjuna is acting here. We can see that the only way that we can get out of this entanglement of material activities is to surrender unto Krishna. And that is what is being said basically throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharma Parityajo Mami Kamsharanam Aham Tvam Sarvabhapayum Mokshishami Masacha. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. So we have to learn how to surrender, basically. It's not just an overnight thing, you know. You don't take the Krishna consciousness and suddenly you're a pure devotee. It takes serious work. You know, we really do have to put the effort in. Like anything else, you know. You can't become a university professor just by saying, okay, I want to become a university professor. I think I'm a university professor. I think I know God. No, you know, you have to act in such a way that God will want to see you, you know. And Krishna then will give us the mercy when he thinks we're ready. So Krishna says there, I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is what is somewhat preventing us, you know, sinful reactions going on. Ganesh made this point on Sunday in the class about some astrologer who said that, you know, the accumulation of your sinful activities, sometimes you get a whole bunch of it all at once from many lifetimes back, and these astrologers can tell, oh yeah, it's coming up, yeah, you're going to get that in this lifetime. And but if we can surrender into Krishna, we won't be affected by these things, or we will be able to tolerate them. You know that verse about no, there's another verse about one who goes on tolerating the sinful reactions of one's past, and you know, we will learn how to tolerate, and that's what Bhagavad Gita is also asking us to do. This is actual surrender. This is real surrender. You know, you're not trying to say, oh, it wasn't me, it was them, it was their fault, they did this, you know, it wasn't me. This is why I'm in the situation I'm in because they were acting like this to me. You know, it's you actually go on tolerating your karma and and you establish justice as well. I mean, it's not that that there's injustice can go on. This is why we have Varnashram system. As devotees, we have to have that justice there, and we have to see how Prabhupada wants us to act in all situations, to be ladies and gentlemen and whatever. But at the same time, Bhagavad Gita is telling us that this material world is a place of suffering. Kalyam Shasvatam. But we, as Prabhupada's servants, are meant to set up a system or a world in which people can live comfortably and yet perform their activities, their devotional service, and then go back to the spiritual world. And we have to get bring as many people as possible. So that's why Prabhupada created a society to do this. Now, basically, this society is being stamped out, you know, by the material energy, because you know the material world is in the hands of the materialists, as we know, and they're very low class people who are in control, and they are basically they don't want to see any light coming at the end of all this. And what we're doing is we're trying to perform a totally different activity and live in a certain way, which is contrary to how life is being lived at the moment. We're going full blown against the material society, like in this society in Ireland. The whole farming industry is based on killing cows. We're trying to say stop this. So people don't want to hear this. You know, so we're trying to set up a situation which people can take shelter in, so that they can change their whole lifestyle. Now, Prabhupada was very, you know, ambitious. He wanted to change the whole face of the world, you know, as difficult as that may seem. And as brave as that may seem, as a 70-year-old man with no money would come and actually have this plan in mind and actually set it up and set it in motion. And he's still here at the moment helping us doing that thing. So that's why if you read through the purports and of the Bhagavatam, you'll see in so many instances Prabhupada is encouraging us strongly to set up a society or to help bring in a society which is helping individuals, because Prabhupada is so compassionate. Remember his incredible compassion. He sees the suffering of the individuals, he knows why they're suffering, and then he's trying to get them to take to this knowledge, bit by bit, little bit by little bit, trying to feed them. I remember, it's kind of an interesting example, I'm sure people find it an unusual example, but I remember we were going back one night on the barge, and it was very late, it was after a festival, and it was Govardhan Puja, and we had the cows over, and they were actually in the temple. Draupadi came into the temple, it was Draupadi, so she went back in the barge. We were going back in the barge. She got on the barge, but it was quite rough, and just as we were pulling out, Draupadi kind of bolted and tried to swim over, but soon she saw how powerful the current was, so she came back. So I remember it was Maksharupa and Abhaya were trying to coax her back in by giving her little bits of food, you know, come in, and she actually came in and then went back on the ferry again. It was very scary, but the two ladies really held their head that time, and then Draupadi went back onto the ferry and we brought her back on the other side. But in the same way, we're trying to coax, you know, the people. Here's some prasadam, you know, buy some prasadam in Govinda's restaurant. Yeah, just take some. Come on upstairs. Yeah, come upstairs now. Get into the kirtan. And then at some point, there will be the change. Some person will see, wait a minute, what these people are saying is absolutely correct. And even more so if we're living that lifestyle. And I would say, I suppose we can't be kind of flagellating ourselves that we're not, you know, at the moment living in farm communities, showing the ideal example to humanity at large. But at the same time, I think that we have been a little diverted by the material world, because that's what she does. And so now I feel that it's time for us to start taking it even more seriously, because I think just during the time of the shutdown there, people more seriously got into the books and were hearing more classes, and therefore we're more on a transcendental position, and realised that this is all happening by Krishna's grace, this whole material world. And this is what Arjuna is saying here in this particular purport, is that Krishna, he says, everything is happening by your energy, by your grace, and he is Parama, or the chief. He is absolute. He has manifold energies, and through his diverse energies, he creates, manifests, maintains, and destroys the material world. So we're talking about a huge personality here. We're backing Krishna. This is who we're voting for. We're voting for Krishna. You know, we want to be sold out servants of Krishna. Why? Because in his own abode, everything is eternal and absolute. The world is not conducted by the energies of powerful agents by themselves, but by the potent, all-powerful with all energies. You know, so Krishna is behind everything. And until we become into that whole Krishna consciousness, that's what we call it, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, then we will be diverted into the International Society for Martin Davis consciousness, or, you know, Mani Murda consciousness, or, you know, Inga Davis consciousness. You know, that's the problem. You know, we'll be stuck into that, and we'll be trying to work it out on that platform, and we won't be able to, because we can't. It can't be worked out on that platform. But if we surrender to Krishna, then we will be able to act as Krishna's agents, as Prabhupada's agents, to bring in that whole consciousness not only to ourselves but to others as well. You know, and the more then the community, the society of Krishna consciousness is acting on that platform, then we'll have some potency. Krishna will act through us, and you know, that is the most exciting thing. Now, there may be some point that we may somehow or other have doubts about Krishna, because we're coming from the you know, from the ignorance, from the platform of ignorance. We're here in the material world. We've made so many mistakes. But Krishna says, Takshinya, just hear from me. From the verse is Mayat Tamidam Sarvam Jagata Bhakta Martina Matstani Sarvabhutane. I think I've got actually mixture of verses, which I have a tendency of doing these things. But anyway, it says Maya Vyaktamana Pata Yoga Yungja Manashraya Sangsham Samagramam Yatagyas Yasi Takshunam. That how we can know Krishna in full, free from doubt. Because that is the problem, this doubt that we have. It'll pop up every so often. We were trying to get rid of the anartha nivritti so we can get on the steady stage. That is something that we want to get towards. So that, and then we can get some taste, and then we can get some a little bit further and get into the ecstatic feelings of Krishna consciousness. And so Krishna says, of all yogis, who's the one who always abides with me and thinks of me within himself, who renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So we're trying to get right in there close with Krishna. We want to be intimately united with Krishna, and so that we're acting on the transcendental platform. That's what we want to be. We want to be, we want to be acting not on the false ego platform, but on the platform of servant of Krishna. You know, it means that we don't have any doubts. We're actually acting for Krishna out of our own volition, out of our own. That's who we are. That's our actual position as a servant of Krishna. We want to get to understand what that actually is. That ecstatic stage. I mean, there's so much explanation of what that stage is. So we're practicing in full consciousness of him. We know him in full, free from doubt. So Prabhupada in the purpose says the steady concentration of the mind on Krishna is the highest form of yoga. Steady concentration of the mind on Krishna is the highest form of yoga. Devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge. The most confidential part of knowledge. Because we're trying to find out what is this knowledge, what it's all about, what all these universes are. But actually no, it is being fully conscious of Krishna. That is the highest form of knowledge. So we want to get out of this world of ignorance, and so there's a verse I quote a lot. Is about Vishaya Vinivartantenya Harashadeham Rashavarjama Rasopias Param Drishvan Vartate. We have to experience the higher taste. So therefore we're trying to do something according to our tendency. We're trying to work according to our tendency in Krishna consciousness. So we do things which are enlivening for us. So that's what the whole Varnashram system is meant. That's bringing King Prithu again to engage everyone according to their propensities, because then they're more likely to enjoy what they're doing. And so also in Krishna consciousness, it's very powerful because preaching is the essence, and it is the most enjoyable thing. When somebody takes the Krishna consciousness, when you're a transmitter of Krishna consciousness, then that is the most ecstatic situation that there can be on this planet. There's nothing more higher than that, because Krishna is using us he's using us to spread Krishna consciousness to somebody else. So the super soul in our heart is enlivening us to say something to the super soul in the other person's heart, and is enlivening them in Krishna consciousness, and it's visibly there is reciprocation going on, and so it mirrors. I'm not saying it is, but it mirrors the reciprocation between Krishna and Radha, because according as Radha speaks more, then Krishna becomes more enlivened, and then when Krishna becomes enlivened, Radha becomes enlivened because she sees Krishna in the same way. So preaching is like that. We've heard it so many times. Radharani wants to put some other devotee in front of Krishna. No, this person is more pure. Oh no, she's going around, she's finding devotees. No, this devotee is no Krishna. This is for you. So, they want us to be Krishna conscious all the time. This is what Krishna consciousness means. And Prabhupada is telling us so many verses and purports. This is Krishna. This is Krishna. Here is Krishna. Think about Krishna here. Think of Krishna this way. Think of Krishna this way. So, this is the whole the secret. And there's nothing in this world more joyful than this. And Krishna says, and there will never be one more dear than one who spreads this message to my devotees. So we have to, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, Mata, let me read it, just in case I get it wrong. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, Mata Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajantimam Buddhamam Bhava Samanvita. So we understand that Krishna is the absolute personality. So we're dependent on Krishna. Arjuna is dependent on Krishna. So Arjuna is dependent on Krishna in this situation. So we should be dependent on Krishna in every situation. So we should surrender unto Krishna. And we should get the experience of what that surrender is. We listen to the association of devotees. We associate as much as possible, so that we will get this very strong conviction, very strong faith. That's how we get faith, by associating with those who have faith. So the association of devotees, as we notice, has been very strong. I mean, at one point there, I was listening to 5 and 6 lectures a day. It was just absolutely ecstatic, going from one person to another, listening to this lecture and that lecture. Several devotees have explained to me, have told me that they don't want to do anything else from now on. They just want to just hear from Krishna, hear about the devotees speaking about Krishna. And because it's giving them such taste, it's giving them such... because their faith then becomes very strong, and they that is the therefore there's nothing that is preventing people from taking the mind away from Krishna, and but as we said, it all started with Krishna consciousness. And I mentioned just to conclude there, if anybody has any questions, but I would like to conclude with something from the Nectar of Devotion. As we were saying, that it starts off with a little faith. We start to associate with the devotees, and then we perform some regulative principle, and then some inarta nivritti, the doubts within our hearts, which were slashed by the weapons of knowledge, armed with yoga, stand and fight. So then the inartas start to be removed from the heart, and then we get some steadiness in Krishna consciousness. But above that steadiness then is this taste for Krishna consciousness. And then above that taste, we start to experience the preliminary stages of love of God, and then it becomes into ecstasy. So in the purport, Prabhupada talked about the ecstasy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he also talked about the Son. But then there was this verse from from chapter 17 of Nectar Devotions entitled Ecstatic Love. I'm just going to read a part here, and if you could listen very carefully. By the process of executing regulated devotional service, one is actually elevated onto the transcendental stage, beyond the material modes of nature. At that time, one's heart becomes illuminated like the sun. The sun is far above the planetary systems, and there is no possibility of its being covered by any cloud. Similarly, when a devotee is purified like the sun, from his pure heart there is a diffusion of ecstatic love, which is more glorious than the sunshine. Only at that time is attachment to Krishna perfect. Spontaneously, the devotee becomes eager to serve the Lord in his ecstatic love. At this stage, the devotee is on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, perfect devotion. Such a devotee has no agitation for material affections and is interested only in the service of Radha and Krishna. So we can meditate on Srila Prabhupada's heart.
Read that again.
There is a diffusion of ecstatic love which is more glorious than sunshine. So only at that time is the attachment to Krishna perfect. The devotee becomes eager to serve the Lord in his ecstatic love. And it's incredible how Prabhupada puts it. The sun is far above the planetary system, and there's no possibility of it being covered by any kind of cloud. Similarly, when a devotee is purified like the sun, from his pure heart is a diffusion of ecstatic love, which is more glorious than the sunshine. So Srila Prabhupada was, diffusing that sunshine liberally to anyone who would take it when he came. He's still doing it in the form of his books, and it would be great if we could become a great transcendental activists by presenting Srila Prabhupada's books far and wide. So then we'd be presenting the ecstatic ecstasy from Srila Prabhupada's heart. But the devotees who were around when Prabhupada was there, they're still stunned by his presence, by his association. They're still stunned. None more so. I think everyone more so. But I remember reading this book by Ranchor Prabhu, When the Sun Shines, and he speaks about it at the start, little kind of words at the start and at the end, and it's as though he's still stunned after 40 years. He came in the presence of this incredible personality. He spoke about him in a book. He's interviewed hundreds of devotees, and and at the end, and I think he quotes Mukunda Maharaj. I think at the end, I can't remember, but maybe that's. He's still in this state of trance after meeting this incredible personality, and that's the greatness of Srila Prabhupada, and it's there for us. That association with Prabhupada is actually there. It's just the way it's put, and Prabhupada is talking about the sun here, about Krishna being the sun, and then yet in this purport it's a devotee is purified from his pure heart there is a diffusion of ecstatic love which is more glorious than the sunshine. This is what Krishna consciousness is. This is when you come in contact with Krishna, you will do anything to please Krishna, and Krishna has set up. He's come in as Lord Chaitanya he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. So there are many aspects of that Sankirtan movement, and we should take up our place in that. and experience this ecstasy, because it's there. It's there for us to experience. And the stages are very clearly delineated, and probably we may think, oh, to make Ardhikari, oh, that's just beyond us. It's actually, that we should never ever think like that. We should think ourselves lower than the straw on the street, but we should always be aspiring to be the best possible servant of Krishna, and we should learn how to reach the highest stage. The very initial books like Nectar of Instruction talk about association with Radhakund. The Prabhupada is not an ordinary guru. That was one of the titles I think Prabhu talked about. He's not an ordinary acharya. No, he's giving, what no one ever gave before, which is love of Godhead. He's Lord Chaitanya's transcendental general, and we should aspire. We should go. We should do everything in our power possible to associate with this transcendental gentleman, and do everything to please him, and therefore, and that way we will achieve the highest goal in life, which is going back to Godhead. Sankirtan Yogi Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Take questions.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, there's a couple of comments and one question. Well, one comment is kind of like a question. It's a bit controversial. It's just really. Gulnara is love your expression, plunder loka. Ireland was one of those as well, wasn't it?
What was that? Pardon?
Love your expression, plunder.
Oh yeah, okay.
Loka.
Plunder loka.
Ireland was one of those as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's right. Ireland was. Yeah.
Okay, you want to move on to the
That's
next
right.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, so then she
Very
asks, you've mentioned the doubts creeping into our minds. Do you think this happens after we would have performed some apparatus?
Yeah. I mean, there is two things that goes on. I mean, like every gardener, I think, which I'm not yet, but no matter what you do, the weeds come up. So you have to be very careful when you're in devotional life, and very early on, it talks about the offenceless chanting and the 10 offences. There are 10 offences to be avoided in the matter of chanting Hare Krishna, and they are as follows. Shri Rupa says it every morning. I think that was Kalyani was saying, oh, you don't say that anymore at one point. So now it's back on the agenda. It's so that we can be very conscious that there are an artist there, and we do have to pluck them out. We have to be quite diligent in that. The price of freedom is eternal diligence, vigilance, basically. So that whole area of being introspective is vital in spiritual life. That verse that praise Prabhupada used, that the materialist is speculative, or the devotee is as introspective as the materialist is speculative. We're not speculating. We're seeing. We're taking information. Like I've got all these books in front of me. I'm trying to take from here, or here. Or you have your computer or your phone, the database. You're trying to find out how I can find out where I'm going wrong. What's preventing me? So that's a good mood to take. That if there's somehow or other we're not getting the clarity, it's a good mood to take. There may be some offense there, so I have to be even more diligent. And there's a way to do that without being down on ourselves so much, because Krishna consciousness is very, very positive. It's very it's spontaneous. That's what we're talking about. You're doing it spontaneously. So we need to get onto that platform. Now, we don't want to be spontaneously in the mode of ignorance, or spontaneously sinful, or spontaneously offensive. No, if we're introspective enough, we will have the confidence to act in Krishna consciousness accordingly as Krishna is inspiring us from within. This material world is no cakewalk, like, and I should have some effect here. We have to be bold as well. We have to be bold preachers. Lalita from France wrote this amazing article yesterday. She's talking about Parashuram.
She just commented.
And Parashuram was like our Parashuram, Mahamantra's brother. Of course, both of them are great warriors. But Parashuram is, boldly going where no one ever goes. Like he's going on the going with, of course, his fellow in crime, the great Mahavishnu Swami, and going out up and down the Ganga on a raft, practically speaking, and just stopping in places and going in and preaching everywhere. In Para, going around, Vrindavan, like I probably wouldn't even go there because going out into the villages and whatever, because I might get some disease. He's going out giving prashad. Here we are, setting up videos, films, giving out books, whatever. Yeah, so like boldness is very important for Krishna as well. But we can be bold in our own way as well. Everybody's different. Everyone has different strengths, So yeah, we should be a little bit cautious as well. If we see ourselves that we're not as ecstatic as we could be. Two things. One, the material energy is strong. Don't expect that as a cakewalk that she'll let you away very easily. She will throw so many things at you to discourage you and make you dispirited. Don't worry about that. That's par for the course. Get back on your horse and just keep galloping. Get back in there and keep becoming Krishna conscious. Put it into your practice, and Krishna will come. Krishna will come and help you, and the devotees will come. That would be my answer to that. Actually, was there something else?
Just Ganesha makes a point. She said, nice point about the reciprocation through super soul between two people.
Yeah, super soul. That's really good. Yeah.
Lalita, my phone's dying. Lalita Chevalier says, Jai Super Ecstatic Class, sharing Krishna consciousness is the most blissful situation. It's like dialogue between Radha and Krishna, really sublime. Yes, they're still stunned. So amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've noticed that the way devotees are, how they've been affected, I'm just thinking of Satsvarup Maharaj, like he's writing about Krishna and Prabhupada, and in his also his altar all the time. He's the way he's set up. I've been over there and seen his he can't even walk, but he's constantly thinking of his deities, his writing, his Prabhupada's instructions. It's an amazing thing, and we want to be in the same place, all right, and we can be in the same place. There's no doubt about it. These devotees are encouraging us, like it's just like the grandfather's more generous than the father, they might say, but then again the father wants the son and the daughter to be better than them. It's natural. They want you to be our spiritual guides, our spiritual mentors. They want us to be much better than they are. Prabhupada even said it on so many occasions. So we should be confident of their good wishes, and then we have to go out of our way. We have to actually go out of our way to try to get that mercy. And but there's, it's here already. You don't have to, don't try to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see us. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and again, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai.